All right, now that we have our threshold value, it is time to have our robot actually do the line following. We're going to code that. So we're going to get rid of this program that we just created. I'm going to totally, actually, you know what? We are not going to completely get rid of it. What we're going to do is we're going to comment it out. So I'll do / come down to our last curly brace here and do */. So we can always go back to it if we need to. So the first thing, what we have to do is we have to give our robot a direction. And what line following basically is that we're going to tell our robot, hey, if you're on the line, turn left. If you're off the line, turn right. And then it'll basically go between that, go back and forth, on the line, off the line. So let's go take a look at our robot and our code. So here's what's going to look like from the robot standpoint. Hey, if you're on the line, turn your right motors on, come off the line. If you're off the line, turn your left motors on, come back on the line. And repeat that over and over and over as you follow that line. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in an if statement. And we'll say if our sensor value of our light sensor is greater than our threshold value. We just determined that that was 143 again. Don't use this value. You need to calculate your own because you're going to have a lot of issues if you don't. Watch the previous video if you haven't done that. If that's the case, we are going to take our motor L and, motor L and set that equal to 0. It's not going to move. And we'll take our motor R, and we are going to set that to 50 motor power. Let's also here, and by the way, we need to say less than here. So if our sensor value, and this is if we're on the line, and so I'm going to comment this and say dark value because it is less than 143, meaning this is our dark value. So our dark value, and this is going to be on the line, turn left. So here, let's comment this, and let's say turn left. Then, if that statement is not true, we'll have an else statement, and that else statement will be the opposite of the previous one. It'll be motor L is going to go at 50, and motor R is going to go at 0, and then we're going to close it. Now, if I were to run this program right now, it wouldn't work at all because it would just check one time to see if this is true, and then it would come down to this curly brace right here. So what we have to do is we have to put this inside of a while loop. So get a little more space right here, and we'll say while, and we'll just say while true for now and this will run forever until we stop it. But let us see if our code is good. And I'm going to fix the formatting so everything is nice, and then I'm going to compile the program, and I'm going to run. Now I'm going to bump my values really low because I don't have a lot of space to work with right now. You should probably work on 50 because you have enough space, but I have really little space right here. Let's check and see if this works. All right, I'm going to download this to my robot and recall that our dark value, those are going to be low numbers below our threshold, and our light value is going to be high numbers above our threshold of 143. I'm going to hit start, and let's watch the robot. Again, mine's really slow right now because I don't have a lot of room to work with. And if you can notice here, what's happening is my robot's going left and right, left and right. It's coming off the line, on the line, off the line, on the line. And so it's following this line perfectly, and it's following the left-hand side of that line. Let's take this up one more notch, and let's add another sensor, like our bump sensor, so it'll stop line counting when we hit our bump sensor. One of the things I previously forgot to do was to comment what this code does, and this was turn right when offline, and then dark value when on the line right here, so we know that, and it turns left right there. So in order to change this, what we have to do is we have to, instead of having a while value being while true, which is always true, we're going to change this to sensor value. So while our sensor value is unpressed, and when it's unpressed, so of our bump sensor, so sensor value of our bump sensor, and when that is equal, and we're checking for equality, so it's a double equal sign, while that's equal to 0, then you're going to execute this code. Bump sensor, when it's true, it's not pressed, then this will be true and this will run forever. However, though, when this is pressed, this will become 1, and so 1 is not equal to 0. It'll pop out of this loop and it'll hit the end of our program. Let's check and see if it works. All right, we've downloaded our program to our robot. Let's hit start and let's see how this bump sensor is going to work. It's going back and forth really slowly on our line, left, right, online, offline. Let's hit our bump sensor, and our robot just stopped. So it works perfectly. So this right here, this is your classic line following code. You remember just some last things you need to adjust. You need to come up with your own threshold value, and then typically you're going to want to have your motors go stronger. One other adjustment that I would make too is to smooth the motion out, is I like to give a little bit of value to the other motor. And what this does is it doesn't make it so it's so jerky on your line following, but rather it smooths that motion out and it looks a little bit nicer. Happy line following out there.